This video was made possible by Skillshare. Learn for free for 2 months by being one of the first 500 to sign up at skl.sh/HAI18. Alright, so for clarification, this is the DMZ and this is the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles for non-Americans. And they're totally different things. One is a scary, dangerous place where one can see cold, heartless people on the other side, and the other is the area of land separating the Korean peninsula. On a vaguely related note, remember World War II? Imperial Japan had Korea, but then the US dropped a little boy and fat man over Japan, so at least the imperial part of Japan wasn't a thing anymore, and the US and USSR swooped in and took hold of different parts of Korea. Basically, the USSR held this part, and the US held this part, and the two countries' troops eventually left, but the South was still American-influenced and the North was still Soviet-influenced, and Stalin got all Stalin-y, so the two sides got to warring. Territory changed hands a bunch of times, but despite their old college try, the two countries ended up looking pretty much exactly the same as before. Minus the couple million dead people, of course. But at least they ended up with this, the demilitarized zone. This 2.5-mile, 4-kilometer wide buffer zone straddles the border between North Korea, the country run with the level of expertise of a high school drama club, and South Korea, the country that I will say nothing but nice things about since they actually have internet access. There are plenty of military members within the Korean DMZ, but they're restricted both in number and what they can do, so it's more of a somewhat militarized zone. To the south of the DMZ, though, are mostly loads of South Korean and American troops sitting around to make sure the Northerners don't pull a fast one and pop over the border for some recreational Sunday war, while to the north of it is somewhere between a zillion and a bajillion troops and a full metric ton of artillery guns pointed at the south. Just south of the joint security area, the bit you probably most recognize from the news, is the main touristy part of the DMZ. That's right, the touristy part. One of the most fortified borders in the world between two countries still technically at war is a tourist destination. Just read the comments and I'm sure you'll see plenty from people who have been exactly here. There's even this cute little train that takes people to the war zone. While the DMZ is largely devoid of humans, two villages were allowed to remain under the terms of the Armistice Agreement. DAESEONG-DONG in the south and DAESEONG-DONG in the north. DAESEONG-DONG is a largely normal village, albeit with a heavy military presence given its location. A small quirk of the town is that, in an effort to keep people there despite the very real threat of being kidnapped by the North, residents pay no taxes and don't have mandatory military service like other South Koreans. In DAESEONG-DONG, back about 40 years ago, the South Korean government built this rather nice 323-foot, 98-meter flagpole large enough to be seen by the North. As one does, the North Korean government responded by building this 525-foot, 160-meter flagpole in their beautiful town of Cheongdong. Cheongdong has hundreds of families, schools from nursery to high school, even a hospital, but wait. Enhance. 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 Where are the windows? You can see window panes, but no glass, and why can't you see anything inside? This makes about as much sense as the for the fact it was to be for that wood can. And why in this village of supposedly thousands can you only see 3 people outside? And if an airplane wore pants, would it be like this or like this? This super real North Korean town is looking awfully fake. You see, in addition to the real technical war going on, there's also been for the past few decades a propaganda war by each country trying to get citizens of the other country to defect. They've both employed a variety of techniques, including blasting propaganda messages from loudspeaker over the border and launching balloons carrying leaflets. They've stopped and started these propaganda campaigns numerous times as relations have warmed and cooled, including a stop since May 2018, but on a longer-term basis, both countries have been somewhat successful in convincing those from the other country to sneak over the border, North Korea included. This fake town that can clearly be seen from tourist viewing platforms and military outposts is just one of the DPRK's propaganda techniques. In the only place where most foreigners can see the secretive country with their own eyes, they're presenting themselves in the best way they think they can. Unfortunately, they fail to consider that A, telescopes exist, and that B, towns are supposed to have people in them. The only people you see are caretakers that some say are just North Korean military members in plainclothes who sweep the streets, tend the fields, and just turn lights off and on. The South has essentially concluded at this point that Cheongdong's only real residents are a few DPRK soldiers who man the border security installations around the town. Having fake buildings to keep up appearances is cool and all if you're like Disney World, but when you're a country with a million starving, it's not as good of a look, so if you become a maniacal dictator, don't do this. If you become a maniacal dictator, you should, though, do this. Get all your people a Skillshare account. Doing so will let them learn what they want to learn wherever, whenever, from over 22,000 classes. Whether it be how to structure a story in a novel, the best way to use Facebook advertising, how to brew an amazing cup of coffee, or almost anything else, Skillshare has a class on it. For any aspiring YouTuber, I particularly recommend the beginner course by Evan from the channel Polymatter on how to make an animated YouTube video. No matter what you want to learn, you can do so for free for 2 months by signing up as one of the first 500 at skl.sh/HAI18.